Welcome to the Where Do Gays Retire podcast, where we help you in the LGBTQ plus community find a safe and affordable retirement place. Join Mark Goldstein as he interviews others who live in gay-friendly places around the globe. Learn about the climate, cost of living, healthcare, crime and safety, and more. Now, here's your host, Mark Goldstein.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to retire in Nice, France? Well, stay tuned, and today we will let you know. We have our special guest, Jameson Farn. Jameson is originally from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, and has resided over a decade in the Côte d'Azur of France, close to the Principality of Monaco. Jameson has been writing articles for European and North American online magazines for more than 13 years. Currently, he's dedicated to his leisure interest for gay French Riviera, catering to the LGBTQ plus community, residing in for those visiting the French Riviera region. Fueled by an entrepreneurial drive, Jameson is the owner, liaison advisor of a luxury real estate and villa rental agency in France, catering to UHNWI clients. What does that stand for?
Ultra high net worth individuals.
There you go. Welcome, Jameson.
Thank you,
Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you today. So let's talk about Nice, France. So it's Nice. We're going to call it the Côte d'Azur, which is the French Riviera, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you can let us know also. I'll ask you what that entails itself. So could you introduce us to Nice, its role as a central city in the Côte d'Azur French Riviera?
Nice, especially for the LGBT community, is considered the cultural hub of the region. It is where the Pride is held and everything like that too. So for anything like bars, restaurants, stuff like that, for the community, that Nice is the place for it all. It's where most of the tourists seem to come to, is because it's got different lifestyle options, price ranges, stuff like that. And everything is very close by. Cannes is about 30 minutes away by train down the coast, and Monaco is about a 22-minute train ride, and Italy's like maybe a 40-minute train ride away.
Wow.
So everything's close by.
Everything is really close by. So it sounds like a very cool place to live.
Yeah.
Because you have everything. Okay. Geographically speaking, where is Nice located in France, and how does its geography contribute to its appeal for retirees?
Nice is in the southeast part of France, very close to the Italian border. It just has many. I know of a lot of gay couples and lesbian couples that have decided to live in Nice because it's a very convenient city. It's got everything close by. It was voted last year as the 5th most walkable city in France. So it's got a great transit system. Even when there's a train strike, which people talk about, I barely even notice it. It'll just mean like 1 or 2 less trains is running per hour, but they've actually updated that. So now trains are every 15 minutes. They used to be once only every half hour.
Wow, okay. So tell us about the climate. I'm sure it has a really nice climate.
Yeah, year round, we get 300 days of sunshine a year. And summers are getting hotter, it seems to be. But when you live here after a while, to me, I just don't even notice it anymore. So, and it's more of a humid heat. It's not a dry heat. Let's see. We do get heat waves, like usually in July, and they do seem to be lasting longer. But somehow you just assimilate to it all, so it seems easier. In the winters, it gets so I'm thinking American heat, it gets between 52 and 63.
In the winter?
Yeah,
and that's
in the
Fahrenheit.
winter. Yeah, in
Fahrenheit?
the winter.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. I went to Monaco for Christmas Eve, and I wore a t-shirt with a light parka jacket, and I was thinking, it'd be fine because it seemed like it would be cold, but I was like sweating.
Sweating.
Yeah.
That's my type of climate. And how about in the summer? Does it get really hot and humid, like
Yeah, like
90s?
yeah, for sure, definitely, or higher. So,
Okay.
but we've got the beaches everywhere. Everybody's got pools, that kind of thing. So there's lots of ways to cool down. So it's not unusual when you live here because of the lifestyle. For myself, I will do my initial answering emails and stuff first thing in the morning, but then I'll
Hmm.
go down to the beach and I'll go swimming for half an hour or so, checking my messages, go back to work, that kind of thing. So it's not
That's
unusual to go
nice.
swimming like 3 times a day type of deal.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's really nice.
it's
Yeah.
great.
We can't do that here in Phoenix, Arizona,
No.
in the desert. So, okay. Has climate change made an impact? Has it changed anything in Nice or the Côte d'Azur area? Is there anything that the government is doing to mitigate that?
I know that over the past decade, they've made a lot more streets in these more pedestrian friendly. So they planted more trees, put in more bike lanes, stuff like that. The tram is going in more directions now and it's about to expand again. So people don't even need cars really. People drive cars, of course, but I don't drive. I find it's easier if I really need to get somewhere or if I'm going with clients, we'll just take an Uber, something like that. It's more acceptable. I find I will get clients that are flying here and they will rent a car and they will spend more time trying to find a parking space and getting frustrated by it and then the cost with that too.
Right.
So I always advise everyone just don't even bring a car. You're going to be
And
fine. Transit's
and gas
excellent.
and gas is not cheap.
No, it's expensive.
Yeah. So how much would you think a gallon of gas is today?
Well, I honestly, I don't even
Don't
know
know.
because I just don't even look at that kind of thing. And
I
The
I
Uber
would think it
system
would be
here
like
is, yeah, it's high. It's high. So, I think it's always just been high from what I can compare to at least Canada. So, um, but Uber is really good here. People use it even over the taxi system's kind of old school. And
mhm,
that's where you can kind of get ripped off, especially if you're a tourist, on the rates and stuff like that. So I always advise people take an Uber. It's
Uber.
very
Yeah,
reliable here.
I
Very
like Uber.
reliable.
You know what
Yeah,
you're paying, and
exactly.
yeah. Okay. And how long have you lived in Nice?
I've been coming to the south of France. Nice was my very first place I came to right off the train in 1990. And I started to
Wow.
come, I just kind of fell in love with it. And I had been coming here every year since. And then finally in the mid 2000s, I was like ripped off the band aid and it was like it was time to come here. Because over those years too, I had built a great network of friends and even possible business acquaintances at the time. It's Networking is huge here, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's like perfect. It's great. So, and everybody kind of knows everybody because it's a small region. So you get to know who's who and who not to work with and who to work with, that kind of thing. But yeah, I've seen a lot of changes since the 90s, with infrastructure, the cost of living and stuff like that. To me, it's cheaper to live in the south of France than it is in Canada. So that always amazes Canadians. But
Yeah, and it probably is cheaper than the US too, at least on par.
yeah, I think for rental rates, like if somebody's renting, to me, I think it's very good. Like it's if you can find a place, because it's a housing crisis like everywhere. But if you can find a place, you can get a pretty good deal. And sometimes it will include all your utilities and stuff like that. There are things to watch out for. Like I always advise the people if they're thinking of moving here to rent a place first, even
Yeah.
if it's an Airbnb. If you can get one for 3 months, that helps set up your residency and it helps you get your mail. It's important that you have mail in your name to show as part of your residency
Hmm.
and a place to live. It helps with your visa and everything too. So, but yeah, rent first because I've lived all over the region. So, and like I've been living between Nice and Monaco for years now, and I love it because Nice is convenient for everything, and it's very close by. It's 15 minutes by bus for me. But I also like where I live, it's very quiet too. So, and like extremely quiet. So, but if I want to go to Monaco, it's 15 minutes away. If I want to go to Nice, it's
Wow.
15 minutes away. So I was in
You
there
have
this
all the
morning
action.
yeah. And so if I have, like, I have an office that I share in Nice. So I'm rarely there though. But if I have to have a meeting in Nice, that's where I'll go.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's all great. So
That's great. And it's so true, like when you said renting a place, because when you first get to a place, you really don't have a good feel
yeah,
unless you've lived there for a while. So you may find a place and say, oh, that's a great place, and, rent it and find out later on, oh, there's a better place that I want to go to. So,
exactly. Yeah. And most leases here are on a yearly basis for a furnished place, but you can give a month's notice type of deal too. The thing is for renting a place is very tricky for foreigners. So what I would advise is there's a thing called a guarantee me. It's an online thing where it's kind of like somebody's co-signing for you, but you're putting your money and stuff. It's a backup because the French people can be kind of old school in what they've been taught about people renting and stuff, but also it can be transient here so people can just take off. So they don't
right,
want to be without their rent.
right,
So it's understandable. Yeah, because you can offer a landlord a year's rent right up front, but then you might not see any of it. And, like things can happen. So with something like Guarantee Me, it's a backup plan for both parties.
right.
So it's really good. Yeah.
So give us an idea. What's the price of a median price two bedroom, two bath, single family home in Nice? Or is it more homes there or is it more condos?
It's more apartments in Nice.
Okay.
So, and even finding a two bedroom can be very difficult because families will even pass it down in succession. So it can be very hard to find a two bedroom property.
Wow.
Um, they're more two bedrooms. They're of course in the central of Nice, but they're super expensive. So they'd be more so in the northern Nice or even in the hills a bit more, that kind of area. But then the further north you go, the further you're away from amenities and the sea and
Right.
everything.
And walking.
Most places down, like in the core of Nice, are studios and one bedroom apartments. And that seems to suffice for a lot of people because then you have an excuse not to have visitors all the time.
Well, and I also forget that in Europe, people live on a smaller basis
They
than they
do.
do in the US. The US is like, oh, McMansions, and the
Yeah.
bigger the better. And, in Europe, everything is a lot smaller and compact. So can you give us an idea of like a one bedroom?
So a one bedroom, I posted one today that partner agency I work with has renovated, and the conversion is 570 square meters and newly renovated, huge balcony in the very center, maybe a 3-minute walk to the beach, and
Wow.
it's 628,000 euros.
Okay.
But
So,
that's actually expensive. You can get better deals than that. The thing is, Nice is behind Paris right now for places to buy. So places are going very quickly in Nice because there are a lot of people retiring, but also it's a second home. I know so many people here who have second, third homes. It's just unreal. So it's just the way that life is here. So
mhm.
yeah, if you want a holiday home, there you go. So, and they're usually easier to maintain.
So I'm trying to think. You said like 532 square meters?
Or 570 square feet.
570 square feet.
Yeah, so
Okay.
about 53 meters square. So,
So to me, that's a studio
oh, okay.
for
Yeah,
570 square feet. To me, that's a studio, and 600 and you said 30 something. So it'd be
yeah,
what, $640,000?
yeah, with the exchange. Yeah.
That's kind of high
But it's
for
also,
us.
it's right in the center. Like it's
Oh, okay.
like
That's like
minutes
living
from
in
the
New York
beach.
City.
It really is. It would be like that. My apartment when I left Vancouver was 500 square feet. It was a one bedroom, but it felt big enough. But when you're living here, you kind of get used to smaller. I initially, when I made the move here, I was living in my ex partner's villa with him. So that was something to get used to. So compared
Yeah.
to Canada, so but at the same time too, we would always rent a studio in Nice in case we were going out clubbing or we didn't want to drink and drive type of thing.
Right.
So, and then I would use the studio in Nice as my work studio. So, kind of like this place. So,
Interesting.
but so people have different homes, like even in Monaco, people will have a place there, but they'll have a second home just outside Monaco.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
I believe it.
But
So
I
I'm
have a lot of
visiting.
American friends that have apartments here, and they're maybe here twice a year, and it seems to be fine with them. It's a
Yeah.
property investment, so
Yep. I have currently vacationing sort of in Palm Springs area
yeah,
in California. And here people have second homes because the summer is really intense. It's like,
yes,
over 120 degrees a lot. So people tend to go to cooler climates in the summer. But I have a friend who, in fact, we just saw the other night that our summer, he summers in Paris.
yeah.
So, yeah. So,
You can feel the heat there in the summer a lot. Like it's
yeah.
more intense. I think it's more intense because
In
it's a big
Paris?
city. Yeah, because at least in the Mediterranean, you have the breeze off the sea, that kind of
True.
thing. So, yeah, it's just what it is. So.
Yeah. Okay. And the rental market, a one bedroom, what would you say it
So
costs for a
I was
one
looking
bedroom?
into this too, and for Nice itself, studios in Nice before COVID were about 600 euros,
Hmm.
and now they're on average 800 euros. You will see people on groups like say Facebook groups or whatever, they'll be like, oh, it's 1,200 euros. And people clap right back at them and they're like, this isn't Paris. What are you trying to do? And so they get put in their place. So then they lower their rent. So, but I would say a one bedroom in Nice easily starts at 1,000, and then it, the more it goes up, the more you have in your home. That's a lot better. So, I always tell people too. I will see people from North America who will post on, say, Facebook groups here saying, "Oh, we're going to move there. We need this and this, like." Air conditioning, elevator, sea view, like their list goes on, and they're not even going to get somebody responding to them unless it's somebody trying to scam them, because it's just you've got to cut that dream in half and then build
Right.
from there. So,
I hear you.
but what's been happening for a good 10 years too is that a lot of the older apartments, people have been buying them and then renovating them. So there's a lot fresher apartments, but still have that French appeal.
Yeah.
So that's good and bad. So,
I'm kind of curious. A one bedroom you said was like 500 and change as far as feet.
yeah.
What's
A studio, I've seen the smallest online, 16 meters, which is like nothing.
That's like 20 square feet? How could
Yes.
that be? Where do you
They
live?
squeeze it all in. They
Oh my
just
God.
squeeze it all in. But I think the average studio is about 30 square meters.
So that's a little over,
And
is
that
that,
seems to be across the board in Nice.
wait, so is that 300 square feet?
Yeah, I
30?
think it's close to that.
Okay. Okay.
But
So
also,
that's,
too, like we were talking about, people tend to live more outside here. Your home is just where you go to sleep, you
sleep.
eat, shower, and then you're off again.
Yep.
Because there's
Yeah.
always something to do. It's very social here. I went to an art gallery event a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, oh, it'll be quiet. It was in Nice, and I thought, oh, it'll be quiet. And all the restaurants were packed. Everything was like going like it was summer. I was really surprised because I hadn't been in Nice for a little bit. So I was like, especially at night. So I was like really surprised to see how many people were out. But that's the lifestyle. So
Yeah.
it's quieter where I live, but that's also what I prefer because my
And
life is
where,
kind of hectic, so I need the quiet space.
so where and how far from Nice are you?
I'm in Villefranche-sur-Mer, so I'm like a 15-minute bus ride away. So it's like it's a small little, like, it's a seaside town, but it's quite beautiful.
Mhm.
The thing is, it's lacking amenities. So people don't even get their groceries here. They go to the next town over, or if they happen to be in Nice, they'll pick up stuff. But people in France do their daily shops anyway, type of thing. So
Mhm.
that's also the
Right.
way of life. So
Yeah, that's because everything you walk and the
yeah, it's
refrigerator
walking.
isn't big, so
Yeah,
you buy for like 1 day or 2 days.
it helps with the diet 'cause if you have a full fridge, you're going to eat everything in there. So,
That's very good.
but also
Very good.
walking is a big thing here. So I always tell if somebody's coming to visit, or I'm always like, get used to walking. So because it is just normal. I'll even have clients, because I rent villas and stuff, and they'll be like, they want to be right at the beach. They want to be close to, they want to be within steps of everything. And it's like, you have to have the budget for that. And even then it's
Right.
rare. You're
Yeah.
just going to have to walk. So,
Yeah.
but
You're not in the US, you
no,
know.
but the trains run every 15 minutes now as of December 15th, and that's working out really well. The buses run every 15 minutes. Since COVID, we had such an influx of tourists. It
Hmm.
was crazy. We kept breaking records. So they finally realized this past summer, oh, we need more buses, we need more trains. It's like, oh, it only took a couple of years, but
Right. But at
at
least
least
they
it's
got to it.
happening and everybody seems happy. And it's very economical, very, like, it's so cheap. So
How about the cost of utilities? Is that on
the
par, you think, with us in the
so
US?
the average electricity is expensive in France. So the average monthly cost is about 79 euros from what I've been reading.
For electric?
Yeah. And water is 40, gas is 70, and internet, well, you have internet options, but the average is about 33 euros a month.
Still cheaper than us.
But a lot of places, like a lot of people that are renting, say renting a place, whether it's a studio or whatever, they will also include all of that and just do a roundup number type of thing. So
Hmm.
that can work out well too.
Yeah.
So, but it is
Yeah.
important to, if you're thinking of residency, try to get, like, by law, a landlord has to let you put the utilities in your name. So, and it should be an easy process if you have your visa. So it shouldn't be a hassle at all. I never found it to be a problem anyway. So,
It's pretty good. Yeah, the cost that you mentioned, that's pretty reasonable compared
yeah.
to us, especially here in Phoenix. We in the summer we need air conditioning on 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have, well,
So
here too in the summer. So
yeah.
that kind of thing.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about healthcare.
Okay.
So, how accessible is healthcare? I understand healthcare in France in general is great. It's
Yeah.
superb. How easy is it to get an appointment, to get into the system? How far is the nearest hospital?
Okay.
Give us an idea.
Um, So if you're coming over, say on a long, what's considered a long stay visa, which is renewable, a year visa, you have to come with your own private health insurance, but you can get into the system only after 3 months of residing in France. So you basically sign up for like a healthcare card type of thing for France.
Hmm.
You'll have to give all your documentation and then it just takes about 3 months. But if you need to go to a doctor, they've just upped the price to visit a doctor if you don't have the proper medical or, healthcare or whatever. So it's 30 euros a visit. And it's like a general thing and you can get a prescription renewed. And what I find interesting is they will even do kind of a mini physical on you, check your heart rate and your blood pressure and all of that stuff. And what I love about the system in France is, say you cut your finger, they'll take care of that, but they also want to make sure your mental health is okay surrounding that.
Wow.
So they talk to you about everything. They'll even ask a bit about your family history and stuff because it helps lay out the game work for them as well to put it on record for you. So you can sign up for your medical through a website called Doctorly, and you just sign up on it, show your documentation, like you can send it through or whatever. And I have found if I wanted to get a doctor's appointment, if I can't get it that day, I've never had an issue even getting a doctor's appointment the next day.
Wow.
So it'll
That's
show
really
you
good.
it'll show you the list of doctors in your area. And if there's one that you always go to, that's totally fine. It's actually probably preferred. But it will show you their hours, their date of appointments that are available, and you can filter it so that it can say whether they speak English or not, that kind of thing. If
It's
they will
important.
take a check, because they still take checks in France, or if you want to pay by cash or by credit card, like it will tell you what they accept. So you know before you go in, and then they will ask you to bring whatever medical documentation you have in that too. And you can do a video conference if you want as well too. So if they have it available in their system.
So let me get this straight. So if you're coming into the country and you have a visa,
Mhm.
you need to purchase private insurance at
Yes.
least for the first 3 months until you're
Yeah.
eligible to get on the public system.
I haven't, my renewable visa has been easier because it's been so many years. So I'm not sure what it is anymore, but from what I understand, they're going to want to see that you can provide private health care for yourself for the whole extent of your visa. But
So
they will understand.
how
It
much is
will.
private healthcare insurance
I was
approximately?
talking to some expat friends about this, and it's just a wild comparison. It depends on your age and what your health already is and what you're
Mhm.
coming in with. So I have a friend that's paying 50 euros a month and another friend that's paying 200 euros a month.
Depending upon how old they are and what
Exactly.
pre-existing
And there's
conditions
certain,
they have.
exactly. So it's all, in there. You'll find out, but you can always pick your private insurance person too. So,
So let's say I'm a new resident
mhm.
and I've been there for over 3 months.
Yes.
Since I haven't been paying into the public health system all my life, how much does it cost to get into the public health system? There must be a monthly
It
fee.
is a monthly thing. So that will be the variables will be with what your pre-existing conditions are and stuff too. But also, you can go see a doctor day two of coming into France if you want. You just sign into Doctor Leap. And then when you go see the doctor, you just tell them that you're waiting for your mutual card, your health card. And, excuse me, you'll have to pay the 30 euros for the visit in whatever they take, credit card, cash, whatever. And they will give you a receipt so that you can be reimbursed for that if you want. So it depends. Some people are just like, that's 30 euros. I don't care. So
Right. And prescription drugs like pharmacies are kind of different in Europe as well
they're
from the
everywhere
US.
here
Yeah.
and they're independently owned. So say you live in a small, I live in a small seaside town. So there's only two or three pharmacies, but one of them has to be open on a Sunday type of deal. There can't be any closed anywhere. So, Nice has a ton of pharmacies everywhere. Prescription drugs are far, like really cheap. So, and they're even talking about prescribing some basic ones that have been around for a good decade just through a pharmacy instead of taking up a doctor's time.
Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. So it works out well. But the pharmacists are very good too. Very good.
I understand France's healthcare system is like top notch,
It really is. Like you pay for it
state of
in
the
your
art.
taxes and everything. But as a Canadian who had free healthcare, I still had to pay every month. And from what I haven't been to Canada since 2019, but everybody I talked to there, the waiting lists are crazy for
That's
just
what I
even
hear.
basic stuff for Canada. So, I just can't imagine.
So even in the public system, you can get in to see a doctor for
Yeah.
like in a day or so.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can pick your like, because I had to get reading glasses for the first time in my life in this past year. So I didn't even know. I was like, oh, how do I go about it? Made a appointment with an optometrist. treatment was excellent. Like I was just so surprised by how well I was treated. And then they gave me my prescription and I can pick where I want to get my glasses, that kind of thing. So it was fantastic service. Like I was just stunned by it. So
So, Jameson, are you fluent in French?
it comes and it goes. So I dream in it sometimes. I can read it very well. I can write out emails, no problem, or text messages. When I'm speaking a language, if I'm just going shopping, it just seems innate in me to speak it. Like for some reason, I'm always helping old ladies in grocery stores, but I love it. So, if they can't reach something or whatever, but it's just, I love it. So, and because their French will be a lot older than any new French I know, we seem to know what we're talking about. So, but also I understand that. So I'm always trying to teach myself it, and I tell myself every winter, you got to get better at it. You got to get better at it. But yet out on the street, I'm okay. So I don't know.
And how about in the doctor's office? So, like, if you're at a doctor's office, do they, most of them speak English? Do you go to
Yes.
the English
So it
speaking
will say
ones?
that in the appointment too. You can put that in the filter and English speaking, or that they do speak English. But the thing is too, I don't know if it's an urban myth or whatever, but I had heard in the late 90s you couldn't graduate high school in France unless you knew English,
English?
and then you had to pick a third language of your choice. So I always tell visitors for their first time that don't know French, if they're lost or something, to aim for somebody in their 30s, even 40s, because they will likely know French. Millennials might be too scared to help
Right,
or too
right,
shocked.
right.
So look for somebody that's in their 30s or 40s. So, but even all the restaurants, hospitality here, you can't work in it unless you know English.
I'm sure in Nice
Yeah,
and Monaco,
all over, like
it's like
throughout the whole region.
that everybody speaks English.
Yes.
That's my
So
type of place.
it's fine. But also too, I love the challenge of it. If I have to do something new and I'm not too sure how I'm going to go about it because I know I'm going to have to use a lot of French, I just tell myself, just try it out. Like it can't hurt to try. And that's part of the adventure. I meet a lot of people that will come here with expected ideas, but they will try to compare, well, in the UK, we do it like this, or in Canada, we do it like this. And it's like,
It's
you're
the
in a new
same way with
country.
the
This is
US.
your
Yeah,
new adventure. So,
right.
and when
Don't
I tell them,
expect it.
yeah, you can't expect it, you can't compare it. So,
Hmm.
and you kind of get past all of that over time. So it's fine. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
and that's important because when you're coming from another country and if you speak one language, you know what you're in for. So,
Yeah.
from the beginning. So, you know, are you going to be there short term? Are you going to be there long term? If you're going to be there long term, it's a whole different life. You have to learn the language to
Yeah.
really get something out of it
It's also
because you're
protection for
missing.
yourself too,
Yeah.
in
Yes.
in case of some kind of circumstance.
Right.
But I have found it pretty easy. I think when you're living here and you're just ingrained, it's all around you. It's
Yeah.
just what it is. What I find helps is if you monitor, like observe the manners of what other people are doing, that will help you with your French too. It's more how you act about stuff. And if you don't demand things like you shouldn't ask for ice in your drinks, that kind of thing, or butter with your croissant. That's a big one. So those rules,
Oh,
because
because
a
croissants, you
croissant
don't
is
need
made with
butter.
tons of butter. So it's
Right.
like, but
But why no ice in your drink?
well, what they'll do is because it's just, I don't know, it's just a thing. But what they will do is they will give you a little bucket of ice on your table. So
Oh,
you can put it in your rosé wine because rosé with ice cubes is a big thing. So
who
because it
knew?
kind of waters down the tanginess, but also in the heat, it just feels a lot better.
Okay.
Like having an Aperol spritz without.
Right.
So it's better with ice.
Yeah. Got it. All right. Let's talk a little bit about transportation. You said it's a very walkable town.
Mhm.
As far as public transport, besides the buses, do they have high speed rail as well as rail?
The TGV, like if you're going from, say, Nice to Paris, you can take the fast train. It
Yeah.
takes 8 hours. It's like butter. It's like so smooth.
Wow.
So it's a great way to travel. Yeah, it's fantastic. But that's the only area. And the thing is, too, it doesn't quite speed up until it's like kind of leaving Cannes and starting to go up into the country. So, but it also doesn't stop at every stop along the way. So that's why it's quicker that way, too.
I think I'd
So,
much rather travel by train than I would fly.
yeah, like it takes, I think, just over an hour to fly from Paris. I haven't done it for a while, but I prefer the train too. It gives you a chance to relax, see the
Relax, it's
countryside. It's
scenic.
such a beautiful countryside.
Yeah.
So, and it changes, even the tones of the areas change, the colors. But yeah, so they installed a brand new tramway, say, or before 2010 here in certain areas, but now the tram goes straight from the airport all along. Part of it is underground to the port in Nice, which is fabulous. Because I remember in the 90s where it was like, it was just the bus, it would be a bus that you'd have to pick up at a hotel and it would be packed and you have your luggage. Well, now you don't have to take a bus. It's like you just hop on the tram.
Nice tram.
Yeah, it's
Very
quiet. So,
cool.
yeah.
So public transportation is good. Let's say, so can you travel by rail from like Nice to Monaco
Yeah.
or
So
okay.
you can take the bus or the train. So the train from Nice takes about 22 minutes and it costs, I think, €4 maybe.
Wow. It's a good deal.
The only thing I would advise is to avoid it at rush hour if you can, especially in the summer, because 41,000 people go into Monaco every day for work and
Oh my God.
41,000 come out. And the population of Monaco is only 37,000.
Wow. So more of the population goes in and out every day.
Yeah, because, well, they can't afford to live there, right? So it's the
Yeah.
working people. So,
Yeah.
but
Got
also
it.
a lot of people choose not to live there because of the size of their property. So,
And we'll talk about that too, because
yeah.
Monaco is a different
But
country.
yeah, so the train, or you can take the bus. The bus takes, I like the bus because it's more scenic. It also goes along the sea like the train, but it gives me time to relax between appointments with work and stuff like that. And so I think the bus from Nice, you can take it from a few areas. It will take half an hour, maybe 35 minutes right into Monaco.
So you said Monaco is a different country, right?
Yes.
So how does that work when you're traveling and you work in Monaco and you're actually going into a different country?
Yeah.
I
It
mean, you don't have
has,
to show your passport on the train.
they do check for the passport because if you're, say, you're
Oh, really?
taking on the train, on the train they check, but they're more trying to look for fare evaders. But if you're taking the bus from, say, Nice to Monaco, it's its own type of bus. It's a 600 bus. It's an electric bus. It's a huge, long bus. It costs €2.50 one way, and they give you a receipt. So you go in, and if somebody comes on to check for your fare, you just show your receipt, and that's kind of it. But yeah, there's a borderline. Like when you're crossing into Monaco, you can
Really?
see it, and all the
But they
police
don't
officers.
check.
Only if you're kind of walking into Monaco, depending on where it is. More so if you're coming from Nice. Like I do a lot of hiking. So sometimes if I'm in Cap d'Aille and I just want to go into Monaco to pick up something or feel like going for a walk, because you can walk along the sea into Monaco. Sometimes they'll check you, but they're usually pulling over teenagers in a car, a little
Right.
cheap car to see what their business is. So, but it's nothing. Monaco's super safe.
And
So
Monaco's small.
it's as big as Central Park in New York.
God. So that's pretty
But it's
wild.
also one of the safest, richest countries in the world. So,
I
and they keep
believe it.
expanding out onto the sea. So the Matera area district just opened near the Fairmont, near the port. Took a decade to build. It's on the water. They did it all ecologically. That's why it took so long too. It's got condos, like everything. It's got its own little mini port now too. I think it cost 3 billion to build, but it added 3% more landmass.
There you go.
So they've been doing this since 1967. So I don't know.
It's very interesting. So tell us a little. Oh, bikeability. Do people bike?
Yeah,
Because
France
Europe
is
is very
big.
big on
France is huge
biking.
in for bikes. It's like Tour de France country. So
Yeah,
you'll see it, especially on a Sunday. You'll see a group of like even 10, 16 people on bikes, just all going along the same, route as the cars. And the cars are very aware of them. And they will, like, I've seen buses will wait for a bicyclist to, move over into their lane type of thing. They don't honk or anything. It's very respectable. There's
at bike
accidents, of
lanes.
course. Yeah, not everywhere. Like in Nice, it's full of bike lanes, and you can rent bikes in Nice. And the promenade along the city in Nice, it's 6 kilometers long. All takes you all the way to the airport. And
Wow.
it's a pedestrian walkway, but it also is shared with scooters, and they have their own bike lane, in different directions. So, but yeah, you can do that all along the sea. Stop off, go swimming.
Interesting. Interesting. Absolutely. So I love that, walkable, bikeable, good transportation. That's my
Yeah.
type of place.
You'll notice here people are really in shape. Like it just, and it
I
comes
bet.
naturally. So in the summer, I swim minimum twice a day. And
Wow.
even in the summer heat this past summer, I was surprised I was doing it. I was hiking. So it's just because if I want to cool down, I'm usually hiking near the sea. So I'll just stop in, cool off, keep
That's
on
fun.
hiking.
That's
So
great. That's great. And you walk a lot because you walk to everything. You
yeah.
you can walk to the market, right?
Yeah. And like where I live now, everything is close by. Like the beach is a block and a half from me. Let's see, the train and the buses are a block and a half. The big like there's a grocery store close by and it's not far away. Banks are all here, everything. So, but even on
Everything.
Christmas Day for something to do, I thought, well, I'll go for a hike around Cap Ferrat, and it was 10 kilometers, so that's like almost 7 miles. But it doesn't feel like it because it's such beautiful
Wow.
scenery and you're just out seeing everything. And there's people with families doing it and stuff like that. It's part of how it is here. So it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
we need more of that so we can lose more weight.
Well,
So,
I find here you can eat what you want because you're usually going to walk it off anyway.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an
That's our
excuse.
problem here. Everything is car centric. So,
Yeah. I always advise people to, you'll see people that are wanting to move here and they want to bring their car, don't, because you
no.
have to convert it to the European system. That
Right.
could take a year. It is just cheaper to buy a car. If you really
Yeah.
need a car that bad, just buy a car here. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I probably wouldn't. I would just do the walking and the Uber and
yeah.
you name it. Let's talk a little bit about the LGBTQ community. I understand it's large in Nice.
I think it's fantastic. It's like, what I love about it is there's no attitude. It's very easy to meet people here, well, of any, sexuality. But the LGBT community, I think, is just so welcoming. And because of like, when I lived in Vancouver, I noticed, well, this can sound, I used to manage bathhouses in Vancouver. So there's that. But also, business competition, even in the gay community, seemed very like people were trying to always put the other one under, and you don't see that here. You see that managers here are friends with each other, they support each other. New businesses are very well supported. You will see that if a new business opens up, other managers will come and just congratulate them, have drinks, whatever, offer their advice if they can, if that's asked, that kind
Hmm.
of thing. So, and what I've written about it too, where it seems like there's a lot of gay communities where a lot of, establishments are closing down. They seem to be opening up here. They're willing to
Wow.
take a chance. I think it's also because we have a high tourism market and the seasons are lasting a lot longer. People are coming here more year round now. So, but yeah, there's been 3 bars that have opened up in the past year here. So
Do you have
past
like
year or
a
so.
neighborhood where specifically there is a gay neighborhood?
There used to be one where it was called Le Petit Marais, like the small Marais district of Paris, but the smaller version. It's still there. They have, the rainbow painted on the pedestrian walkway of it.
Hmm.
but it's more everything now. There's only a couple gay bars there now. The gay scene in Nice is very spread out, but that's what makes it more fun too, because when you're going to a different part of the city, you're experiencing the vibe of that city too. So, but like in almost every area in central Nice, in the little districts, there's something gay going on. There's cruising bars, there's one big bathhouse, but there's like even cabaret type places. Drag is really big here, especially in the summer. A lot of the bars have, drag competitions and stuff. And these are also people in the drag world that have been on Drag Race France, like race in the US. So it's that kind
Hmm.
of thing. And they're just fantastic. So, and they'll put on shows out on the street, not even only in establishments, but for everybody on the street. And tourists love it. So it's just, I don't know. And it's a super safe community. It's super safe. I've been to all kinds of events day and night wearing all kinds of odd things, and I've never had any trouble at all, like nothing. So, and that's since the
So,
90s.
so no one would blink an eye if I walked down the street holding my husband's hand.
No, not at all.
That's the way it should be.
So it's like even, and you see it more often than you think you would. So, and sometimes it will still even surprise me. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Because even two of my best friends have been a couple for 17 years. And once I was meeting them in Old Town in Nice outside my office because we were going for lunch, and they showed up holding hands. And it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot you can do that.
Right.
So I'm
We're
sure there's
not.
the odd snide remarks or whatever, but if you can't speak the language, you're not going to know. But
Right, exactly.
but also, so what happened, I think, maybe less than a year ago, the director of the LGBT center was in the center on a day when it was kind of closed. But he noticed a couple of teenagers outside, and one of them had written pedophile on the window. Well, he chased them down and got the cops, and the cops came right away. So it was two guys. So one was 17 and one was 18. I don't know what happened to the 17-year-old, but the 18, within weeks, was he had to go to prison for 8 months for doing that.
Wow.
So, and the mayor is very supportive. The mayor is considered right wing, but he's massively supportive. But even the mayor of Cannes is a bit more left wing. He's massively, like, they're supportive. They know that we're a part of the community. We contribute to the community, bring life and culture to it. So,
That's important.
yeah.
That's really important.
And they have like, for the Cannes Film Festival, they also have a queer Palm Festival with queer movies. And then there's another film festival. Well, there's the In and Out Film Festival. That's usually at the end of summer, but then in the winter they'll have Love Festival. So like there's three LGBT queer film festivals in the region.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
quite
great.
something. And also Pride here is a little bit different too. I was used to seeing a lot of sponsored prides with banks sponsoring and stuff like that. It's
Hmm.
not like that here. Whatever you can contribute to is great. You're not watching you can watch the parade from the sidelines, but it's encouraged to be in the parade as part of
Participate.
it. Yeah, it's
That's great.
fantastic. And it keeps growing every year. So
That's
it's great.
great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Tourists love it. Everybody loves it. So
So it sounds like you have a large LGBTQ community
yeah.
and it's accepted, and that's what we look for.
What I should mention too is we have that opened 2 years ago, LGBT, what's it called, like a health center. So
Hmm.
you don't have to be gay to go there, but they've done it as kind of a pilot project and it's really taken off. So you feel a bit more secure when you're going there and you can talk about anything, get a COVID shot, flu shot, whatever you need done.
Yeah,
So, and it's all private and it's right in the heart of the city too. So it's things
that's
like that.
great. That's
Yeah.
great for the community.
And the pharmacies, they've started a thing in the region where you can get free HIV testing at a pharmacy. It's the
Wow.
first region in France they're testing it out so that you can just walk in and get a test done if you want.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
big. That's huge. I wonder if they do prep in France.
Yeah, they do.
They
So they
do.
have a mobile van that goes out mostly in the summer. They'll sit outside like nightclubs and stuff like that. So you can go in and get an HIV test. You can talk about PrEP. You can get whatever you need, that kind of thing. They'll help set it up.
Great.
They'll even do that on the beach once a year too, or once or twice a year.
Huh. Awesome. Sounds better and better. Arts and culture. I'm sure there's no shortage. Let's
Tons
talk
of art
about.
galleries. Well, it's the land where Jean Cocteau, who was one of the first gay people here, so part of the community here. He had a very interesting history here. Picasso, he was from, around here. There's lots of Picasso. There's Picasso Museum in Antibes you can visit. And who else there? Next to my office. Oh, so next to my office in Old Town in Nice is where a building where Matisse lived on the top floor when he wasn't staying in a hotel. And so he would go kayaking and stuff at the port every day, that kind of thing. And he had his models come by his apartment. So, and he's buried in Nice.
There you
And there's a
go.
huge Matisse museum actually in the Samaz area in kind of northern Nice.
How about live theater?
Yeah, there's lots of that too. So they like their opera here, but there's English and French.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there
Yeah,
English?
they do both. It depends on what it is, but there's a lot of outdoor event places. They take place more in the summer, but there's more outdoor ones. And there'll be festivals for it too, even in the gay community. So there's that kind of thing that's going on. And Monaco had its first drag queen type cabaret show on December 20th.
How cool.
So with a well known drag queen too in France.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So
so cool. Awesome. And how about movies? Do you have the choice to see them in English with French subtitles
yes.
or in dubbed?
French with English subtitles, but there's a lot of movie theaters in Nice itself, and they'll have like the six cinemas type thing like we would be used to in North America.
Hmm.
It is expensive apparently. I haven't gone for a while, but I'm told it's expensive. But yeah, some of the theaters will have movies where they will have it dubbed in English for you.
Hmm.
You can find out online about it too. But there's also
Right.
groups. There's a group that has outside of Nice, she has where you kind of anybody is welcome. You meet up for a drink first, and then you go see a movie that's English subtitles, and it helps bring people in a network together and meet new
Together.
people. So it's all about
Is
meeting
there,
people here.
oh yeah. Is there a big expat community?
Tons, mostly from the UK. The numbers are around 300,000, but it goes up and down all the
Wow.
time. So if you're looking for worried about your language and want to be in an English speaking area, it's totally fine here. There's
Yeah,
English
people
speaking
from the UK.
businesses. There's a new bookstore that opened up in Nice less than a year ago called Read the Room, and they have a gay section and stuff like that. They carry my book for me and stuff, and they'll hold events for anybody, gay, straight, whatever. And it's an English speaking bookstore, so
That's
you can
great.
pick up English books. So it's that kind of thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs have picked up on that, so they just build upon it. This is their
Oh yeah.
business. So, and there is a need for it. Not, it's more of a want, but it works out. So,
Yeah. Very cool. How about festivals? Are they big on festivals? I know Spain is big on festivals, but I'm not sure about France.
well, like they'll be more centered around the film festivals type of thing. Street festivals, they've slowed down a little bit since COVID. I think they're more worried about security, but the gay community was having what was called white parties or dolly parties in the Petite Marais district, the gay district, but
Hmm.
they put a stop to it this summer just because of security. It's just so much to take on now because it's grown so much. And it's just, I think they're trying to reestablish how they should do it because, people were sneaking in drugs or booze, but more booze. Drugs you don't really hear about a whole lot compared to what I'm used to in Canada. But it's just they wanted safety for everyone because it would be a free event. So there'd be kids at these events with their parents or whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, even though it's put on by gay people, everybody's welcome.
Everybody
So
goes.
yeah. And everybody does go because it's part of like the summer vibe. So I
Yeah.
think they're figuring it out for next summer. But yeah, you don't really hear a whole lot about festivals themselves. There'll
Okay.
be food type festivals, that kind of thing.
That I like too. But I need to walk it off. So, okay. Safety. We were talking about, crime and
Yeah.
how about crime and safety? Number one, well, I don't think guns are allowed.
You don't hear of any gun things here. I think there's a small part of northern Nice that has that issue apparently, but I think the police have really been on it. But that area's always been a gangster area. But what would be gangster to you and I here would look like nothing.
In the US or Canada.
And so I will even tell my friends will tell me like horror stories of what they, see on the streets and have to deal with daily in Vancouver. And it is like night and day living here. It's like you see homeless people, but just not a whole lot. I think because there are a lot of services for them, but also it's just not a place you come to. Like I know the climate is good, but I don't know. It's just I know that there are issues. It's just not as bad as what we would see in North America. You really just don't see it unless you're out looking for it almost.
And
So
also, I've noticed that in Europe, I know it's true for Spain, people are very family oriented.
yes,
So
yes.
if they had a family member that was down and out, they wouldn't let them out on the street. They would
No,
take them in and take care
exactly.
of them like people should. But
Uh, there was something that happened. Some teenagers were doing something about a year ago. I think it was in the winter. They were just kind of causing some trouble using their phones, but they were in the coming down to the core of the city to try to cause trouble at night. Well, when the parents got wind of this, it was shown on the news. The parents were coming down, picking up their kids, and it's like, you're coming home right now. It's like they were not putting up with it. So it's like, yeah, because reputation's also everything here too. So if your kid is out of line, everybody's gonna know. And they're going to also look at the parent and what is the parent doing about this. So some people blow it off, but if you really want to do well in the community, you just keep your nose clean type of thing. But yeah, so that's why I talk about nose clean. You don't hear much about drug use here. I will sometimes smell pot on if I'm at a beach. And because I'm from Vancouver, it's like, that's not pot. That's
right,
tobacco. like,
right,
so it's
right.
like I make
I
that
smell it
comparison.
wherever I
So it's
am. I
like,
smell it.
yeah, and it's like you can't like I think in the gay community there was some issues I think with chemsex, but that's really come to the forefront and it's really talked about a lot right now. And people are not judging them, but how can we help? What's going on
Right,
to make this better? Because it just affects people after a while. So
sure. Do you feel comfortable, like if you're coming home from a social event, like
yeah.
at midnight or after midnight, like from Monaco or Nice or anywhere on the French Riviera, Côte d'Azur, do you feel comfortable walking?
Yeah, totally. I've never had any trouble. And back in the day, I used to wear the Daisy Dukes and all that kind of thing. And, the high tops and stuff. And it's never been an issue. And I actually like to go meet friends at places. I don't like to hang out with a gang of friends and going from here to here. I'd rather
Hmm.
meet new friends at other areas and stuff. So I
Hmm.
like venturing out on my own. And the nightclubs don't get going here till 1 a.m. So I don't hit them up like I used to, but you just don't go out till 1 a.m. And it's never been a problem. Like I think because it's such an international destination, there's so many different kinds of people and you have to have acceptance. You have to just have an open eye because there's just you otherwise you're going to get stuck on yourself. So
Yeah,
but yeah, I've never had an issue. I'm also
that's
surprised by
great.
that too. So
It's very comforting, and people are looking for that
yeah,
because wherever they want to live, of course, my number one thing is, okay, is it safe? Well, besides cost of living, is it safe?
yeah.
Like, I don't want to live in a place where I hear somebody got shot a mile
Oh,
away, or
yeah,
or there were a mass shooting somewhere. I want to
exactly.
feel
You
comfortable.
don't hear that at all here. And even the week I was leaving Vancouver, that last week, I saw three big incidents right around my apartment building. And I lived in the west end of downtown Vancouver near Stanley Park, a quiet, good
Hmm.
area. And it was just like, yep, I'm making the right decision. So,
You are. I mean, anywhere in the US, we're going to find it, usually anywhere. It's
Yeah,
like, especially in big cities, like we live in Phoenix, it's huge. I mean, millions and millions of people.
it's almost
So,
like a West Coast thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you're going to find homeless, you're going to find, um, you're going to hear stories of people getting shot. And it's,
yeah.
yeah.
I've never, I don't know. I haven't encountered that. I haven't had anybody try to sell me drugs or even ask for change, really. So,
And
yeah.
so let's talk about food and dining.
Okay.
As I'm sure there are a good amount of restaurants, Michelin star.
Yeah, there's like every kind of culture has a restaurant in Nice, Lebanese, Italian, like everything. And it can all even be on the same street. It's so amazing. So, any restaurant that isn't any good, word gets out, they're shut down right away. So, because it's France and food, it doesn't matter what kind of food, it's France and food. So, and I find that the prices are very good. There's Michelin star restaurants. It changes with the Michelin star, so you kind of have to look it up. But there's a gay-owned restaurant called Yan in the port. It's a Michelin star restaurant in Nice. It's very good. The guy is really into his food. Let's see. But there's where celebrities go to is Le Petit Maison in the summer. It's Elton John's favorite. And I've seen Shirley Bassey come out of there a couple of times. And one time I was walking by because they have an outdoor patio, but it's kind of fenced off with blinders. But I could hear a voice singing, and it was singing Happy Birthday, and it was Sting.
Wow.
So that's just how life is, though, here. And nobody
I love
bothers
that.
them. Everybody leaves everybody alone. It's like, yeah, let them have their summer, let them have their
Right.
life. Because I
Yeah.
have some celebrity clients that come and go too. They've always been pretty good. And it's just, there's been the odd one, but, with their demands, but it's like, it's not a French demand. It's a demand with how they've come in from where they're
Right.
living. So,
Right. That's
but it's
awesome.
fine. And you would expect that. So,
What time do people tend to eat dinner in France, in Nice? Is it like on par with Spain, like 9, 10?
yeah, it can be. It depends, I think, what's going on with them socially. Lunch is for sure. Everything kind of stops at noon till 2 o'clock for a lot of people. So, but also they will take that time in the summer. They'll have lunch, but they'll also go swimming. They'll do their errands, whatever, but then they'll work till 7 o'clock at night. So, it
So it's sort of
levels
like
off.
Spain too.
Yeah.
They kind
So,
of have lunch, siesta type
yeah, I'm still
relaxing.
have the North American way where I'm just go. So I have to
Right.
force myself to slow down. I, to me, I can't imagine doing a 2 hour lunch because my days are very long anyway. Like they're usually in the summer, they're easily until midnight. So it's like I don't need
Wow.
to add to it. So yeah.
Wow.
So while in my work, you're always on the go in the summer. So, but yeah, so the restaurants, a lot of them don't even open up until 7 o'clock. So it depends on what kind of food you want and stuff. But they don't rush you at anything. Just take your time.
That's the
It's always
smart way.
really good food and this very healthy food too. Like you'll get a lot of it. Really depends on what you're looking for. Italian food I love because Italy's so close by. They will bring in the food from Italy. Even my main grocery store that I go to brings in food from Italy every morning because it's just
Wow.
there.
So close too.
Yeah,
Do they have lunch set up like in restaurants? Is that some places like in Spain make it your main meal?
like the plate of the day type of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they have the.
menu del
It's an
dia or
option. Yeah, and I would go for it. So usually because that's something that they've worked on, it's not something that's left over.
mhm.
So it's fresh, and they're trying to almost treat the customer. Hey, try this. We're trying this out, type of thing. So yeah, but a lot of restaurants, even in Villefranche, where I live, the port, there's a fish restaurant. There's like a burger type restaurant. There's like every restaurant is different to each other, and they will have the price boards out front so that you know what you want to spend, and it will show you the menu so that you can decide, oh yeah, let's eat here tonight because they have this menu type of thing. So, and it's all very competitively priced, especially in Nice because there's so much competition. They have to have very good service, food, everything. So
So, is it like if you're sitting having a meal,
mhm.
do you have to ask the waiter to give you a check, like in some
um,
other countries in the
at the end, you
EU?
kind of like at the end when you're done, like they will sometimes notice they don't want to rush you. So you just ask for le petit, additional, like the receipt type things. You just kind of wave your fingers, and a lot of things are motions here. So, and then they'll bring you your bill. So
Is everything plastic based, like credit card, debit card, or
it
is it
seems, yeah, it's
cash?
getting more and more like that now. So,
Do they have those machines that they bring over to
yeah,
you
yeah,
and you just tap?
yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a few cards. I think American Express is one that they're still working on. But if you have a
Yeah,
regular bank
usually.
card, it's easier, that kind of thing. They also don't use credit cards in France.
Really?
So, yeah, it's all like bank cards that
Debit?
act as a debit card. So there's not a
Interesting.
lot of credit card debt here. You don't see people freaking out about credit card debt.
I like that.
It's really good. It's
I like that.
really,
So it comes
and it wasn't
directly
hard
out of
to
your
adjust
account.
to it. It wasn't hard
And
to adjust to.
the only reason why I use a credit card is for the points that I earn
Yeah.
for travel and stuff like that. So,
But I've seen every, clients that I've had from the US with their credit cards, and it's never been declined or anything. So
so interesting. We should talk about banking too in France. How easy or difficult is it to set up a bank account?
I think if you're purchasing a home, it's going to be a lot easier. If you're only on a year-long visa, you can get a online bank card, excuse me, like a Revolt card or
Hmm.
N26 that are called for online banking. I know a lot of expats use those just because
For
it's easier to
Revolut?
get. Yeah, yeah, because it's easier to get than it is to go into a bank. But there are a couple of really good banks like Bank Populaire and Credit Agricole. They will, they're used to UK residents coming in.
Hmm.
So, and I think because of so many Americans coming here the past few years, especially, they've opened up their mind to a lot of it all. So you might have limits set, but you can ask for that limit to be, like in North America, to be expanded upon.
Right.
They'll want to test you out. But if you just tell them, listen, I just need this for utility stuff, they'll understand, and they're like, yeah, that's no problem. So,
Okay.
you know.
Interesting. All right.
I think if you're sending money because you're buying something,
Hmm.
that's where they're going to watch. Because even if you're buying something, say in an Apple store that costs more than €1,000, you can put it on your credit card or your bank card. But if you're paying with cash, they might want you to fill out a form. They're very aware of money laundering here. So
Laundering. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Many countries are.
So, but I know that you have to really be careful if you're a resident from North America or UK or whatever, because if you're juggling around a lot of money in through your accounts, they will just freeze your account and you have to convince them because they think you're money laundering. So
Right.
don't be putting in huge amounts all the
Amounts
time.
of money.
So,
Yeah.
and if you're buying a place, a notary will help you with that process. So
Hmm.
it's good.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about visas and residency and the process.
Okay.
So, if I were to come from the US, do I start at an embassy, a French embassy in the US to start the process?
Yeah, you can go online and do it from your home country. You
Uh-huh.
can't get a visa. You can't be in France and then try to get a visa. You have to do it from your.
Home country.
There's a ton of different visas to choose from. So I always just tell people don't overthink it. There's a lot of information. Just go by how you live and what you think you're going to need. The easiest visa you can get is a 90-day tourist visa.
Hmm.
So you just go for 90 days. I know a lot of people actually own properties here and they just use their 90-day thing. So they can be here for 90 days, which is practically your whole summer. And then you have
Right.
to be out of the country for 180 days, and then you can come back in for another 90 days type of thing. And it works out. And the airports, they know it works and how it goes on. They just make sure your days are in line and stuff like that. I actually did that my first few years before moving here because it seemed easier to just, because I was also coming as a tourist. So you can get
France
a
is
lot
part of the
done in 90
Schengen
days.
zone, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But you can get a lot of stuff done in 90 days.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it will help you figure out where you want to live, how you want to live, the whole thing. So
Do
I
they
would
have
tell
retirement
people,
visas?
I think I haven't had to deal with that. I think most people I know that are even retired have just done the year long, what is considered a long stay visa, which for a year, and
Hmm.
it's renewable at the end of that year. So you just reapply
Keep
for it.
on renewing.
Yeah. And after a certain amount of time, you can apply for a 5 year card. After that, a 10-year card. And you can do your residency. Your French language skills have to be right up there to get your French or residency. But when you're living here and you're just on your visa, you don't realize that stuff. You just go about your daily. It's just one thing you have to take care of. But it's
What
pretty
type of
easy.
visa did you come on?
I came because it was like over 10 years ago. I came on an entrepreneurial visa,
Uh-huh.
but that also only limited me to making 30,000 a year. So I did well right away. Well, my first couple of years were a bit tricky, but then after that I was doing well. So I've just had to up it. So it's more so upping my business model and my business numbers, my references, so that they make sure they get all their taxes. It really has nothing to do so much with the visa that I have. So my visa is just my right to live, but my working thing is a totally separate entity. So
Right.
they
How
want their
long?
money.
Yeah. How long does it take you to get a visa? Is it a long process? Is it?
I'm hearing it's a lot quicker compared because there's a backlog with COVID, but I'm hearing it's super quick now. I know for Canadians, it's very quick. They want to see that you have your funds, that you can support yourself. It's usually, I think if you're single, it's been a while for me, but I think if you're single, you've got to make sure that you have at least 2,000 euros a month to live on.
Mhm.
If you're a couple, it's 3,500. So I could be wrong on that, but
Those amounts always change everywhere.
they do. And they want to see that you have a solid savings account. They're going to want to see bank statements.
Right.
They're going to want to see that you have a plan in place and that you have a residence that you're going to, which that's the tricky part. So that's why people will rent an Airbnb and just make an agreement with that owner. Hey, can I rent there for 3 months? So
Right.
yeah. The hardest part is renting here.
Right. So, have you ever thought about citizenship?
Yeah, I get asked that. That's my big thing, my French language. I'm so worried I'll get nervous. The history part in that I can take care of. I love history. But the language part, that's why I'm like kicking my butt. It's like, come on. But also sometimes too, once in a while I'll have a longing to go back to Canada, but then I just have to read a bit of the news online. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Can you be dual citizens?
Yeah, you can. So I have American friends that are dual citizens. So
Okay.
yeah, and they never had any issues. So
Yeah, I don't know
it
if
was
my
more of a
friends.
debate for them whether they should even bother.
Right.
So, but they like
Yeah.
having it once they have it. So it
I don't
does
know if
make
my
life easier.
I don't know if my friends are citizens that come to Paris every year, but they've been coming to Paris for, I think, over 10 years at least. So
Yeah.
very good. So do you know if they have a golden visa? What a golden, they
No,
don't have
no,
that?
no,
Okay. You know what
no.
that is.
I don't even know if it's ever been, it might have been talked about, but no, you certainly can't. So no.
Okay.
But also a misconception too is I've had a lot of American clients that will just assume, oh, if we buy a house, they might even be here on holiday and contact me and they will want to buy a villa. And it's like they think that gives them automatic citizenship. It's like, oh no, you got to have a
No.
visa. So I tell them to figure out their visa first or how often they plan on being here and then build from there. So, because when
Yeah.
the euro went at par with America a couple summers ago, oh my
Hmm.
God, I was having so many Americans just flying in. They weren't even planning it, they were just flying in. And
Yeah,
also
I
because
believe.
the Russia stuff was going on at the same time, they thought that they could get a villa for half the price because the Russians needed money. It's like, oh no,
No. Mm-mm.
So one thing you too is if you really make a lowball offer, that is such an offense. Like they won't want to talk to you or have anything to do with you here. So you can make a reasonable offer.
Right.
So, but
But not a low ball. Interesting. Okay. Tell us a little bit about Monaco.
well, Monaco's super safe, very expensive. Well, to live day by day there, I think is very reasonable, but to buy there is crazy. But it's got a lot of people also assume that it's all Russians that live there. And it's like, no, it's five nationalities. The Swiss is made up of the Swiss, UK, Italy, France, and people that were actually born in Monaco. So when you're in the system there, you are set for life, like for healthcare, everything. It is even better than France. Like it's
Really?
crazy, like wow. So,
Wow.
but you also can't just, you have to show, if you plan on living there, to get your paperwork going, from what I've heard and have friends that live there, you have to have at least 500,000 in your bank account that you will put into a bank account there,
Wow.
get you going.
So, yeah,
But it does move
it's
things
not
along
cheap.
quickly. No, but for the LGBT community, it's really important. We've been working on this I belong to an association. We've been working for the past few years on this. They've only just had their first Pride 3 years ago, and it was at a hotel type thing. It was very like quiet. And so was the last one, but it built a lot of interest because what we were fighting for like 2 decades ago or in North America, that's what they're fighting for now is basic,
So
gay rights.
they don't have same-sex marriage in
Now,
Monaco.
you can have a partner, you can have a legal partner, but you don't get all the rights. It's kind of like,
Surprised.
yeah, so that's what's surprising to even people in Monaco too. And so with the association, we've had the backing of the royals, you know, that are like, yeah, we're for this. There's no problem. And even a couple of people from the boards, like the mayor's board and stuff, have been, with us and they're like, yeah, this is great. So we just have to keep working on it. But it's a very strong group of professionals that are doing this, business wise, they're not protesting and stuff like that. That would be unheard of. That would work against you. So, but they just want basic rights. It's like, because there's a lesbian couple that I know of where you pick up your kids after school, and one of the partners wasn't able to pick up her daughter from school and had to go through all this paperwork because, like, well, you don't count, you're not real.
Right.
So it's that kind of groundworks thing. So I really advocate a lot for them there. The problem is, too, is when you try to get public attention for it, people assume everybody in Monaco's rich. It's not a problem. But the thing is, they're still entitled to their basic,
Right.
gay
Right.
rights. So that's what we're working
It's
on right
human
now.
rights.
Yeah, it's the human rights part. And
Yeah.
Princess Stephanie has a charity that I volunteer with called Fight AIDS Monaco. So she's very open about it and stuff like that. So her charity's fantastic. It's been around for 20 years. So she doesn't hold back on anything. She's fantastic. So, and Prince Albert is so open minded. He's great. So, you get to meet the royals once in a
Right.
while at certain events,
That's really cool.
and they're very down to earth. So, it's just, I think they're amazing. Like, I
That's so
know
cool.
it's a royal thing, but they work harder than people think. Their lives are scheduled for them. So,
It's, I don't know, it sounds really nice. A nice area to live in,
yeah,
besides Monaco.
the
Saying
whole region is very good.
the
Like
whole
Nice,
region, Côte
yeah.
d'Azur.
So, Nice, if you're not into Nice, there's lots of other parts to live in France. So, everything is close by, everything's accessible. You know, it's very
And what
good. It's
would
a great life.
so if you had some advice, if you can give some advice to our listeners, our retirees, if anyone was considering moving to this, south of France to Nice, what advice would you give them to help them make the move?
Don't overthink and don't overplan everything. What I would do is also come on a couple of vacations first. Check out different areas on each vacation too, like where you're going, and see what really suits your lifestyle. I would also advise visiting in the winter because that's when you see the locals. it's more of the locals here, and you see how they live and what's going on in the community and stuff like that. There's winter carnivals and stuff. We have a Queernival in November, or no, February. That's massive now. Started off with a
Wow.
couple hundred people, now it's thousands. And it's
Wow.
free and it's gay. So, but yeah, take your time. Don't overthink, and don't think you have to bring everything with you, because whatever you have in America, we also have here at hand.
Right.
And sometimes cheaper, sometimes it works better, sometimes not. It depends on what, and you can come here with a lot less than you think you're going to need. If you're starting a new life, rip off that band-aid, start fresh. New adventures.
That's
So I
great.
find there's so many more positives here than there are negatives. You'll hear the negative stuff from people, but maybe that's just their experience. So, but I also find any negative stuff I've had happen in my life here, it has really built my character and strength, and it just shows that, you're open to a challenge, and if you love it here enough, you'll just deal with it. So, and maybe it's a new way of living and thinking. So, you know,
You got it. Great advice. And yeah, for me at least, you have stuff back in the United States, and it's stuff. We
yeah,
could always get rid of stuff
yeah.
and start new. It's a part of the adventure, in my opinion.
I find
So,
as I get older, I want to live a lot simpler.
so do I.
And literally over the past even 5 years, I've been getting rid of stuff because it's stuff.
Yeah, it's stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I deal
And
with
what are
villas
we
and
going to,
everything like that too. And I've lived in a villa for 5 years or something. And it was at the end, it was like, this is too much. It was just your whole life is the villa, like taking
yeah,
care of it. And yeah,
yeah.
so I love
Every,
selling them, but
yeah, right. But that's about it. Yeah. Every time we move somewhere, and we've moved a lot, but every time we get rid of more stuff, and it's just, and we kind of like probably downsize in size too. So,
yeah, I don't even remember half of what I had in Canada,
yeah.
literally, because it was just stuff. So
So great, Jameson. Tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and where can our listeners and viewers find you on social media?
I started off in villa rentals, just friends that had a couple of villas, and I was promoting that area when Facebook was still kind of new, just as a place to travel the region because I loved it so much. So they're like, can you put our villas onto your network? And so I did that and ended up renting them out, and they told their friends, and so on, the shampoo commercial. And so I am obsessed with properties here and the history and the architecture, and I will know so much about a property like some people know about cars. But anyway, so it went from that. So and then I worked into real estate. I got a lot more real estate opportunities coming my way, or people that own villas that wanted to sell them. So then I would set them up with agencies I knew of. And then I became partners with agencies. So, but I only work with people that have proven themselves, that are proactive and everything, because I'm still got that North American attitude where it's work type thing.
Hmm.
And I want them to be very honest and save people time and money, because it's our time and money too. So
Sure.
I'm just straight up, yes, I work in real estate that way. But also for years, since 2011, I've had the Gay French Riviera website. I've pushed it over to Substack now. So weekly, I post articles on there on everything from nightclubs to beaches, real estate, you name it, what's going on locally to keep people up to date. So,
Where could our listeners find that? You
um,
said
uh, uh,
Substack.
yeah, gayfrenchriviera.substack.com. And
Okay.
then if people are interested in real estate and villas, on Instagram, I'm Experience the French Riviera. That's probably the easiest. Or Facebook, Experience the French Riviera. So
Okay.
lots of
And
news items.
we'll get all those links and put that in the show notes for our
Appreciate it.
listeners. Yep. So they can contact you if they're
That's great.
looking to.
Yeah, and tell them that you've met me through the podcast, because then I can line it up and that makes it a lot easier too. I'm
Yep.
happy to share whatever.
Definitely will. Some people write me messages, in fact, on my website when they visit www.wheredogaysretire.com, and they're saying, oh, how do I get in touch with so-and-so? So
Yeah.
I'll
I'm happy
definitely,
to help anyone. And I know what it's like coming from North America. So, yeah.
that's great. All right. Well, Jameson, thank you so much for speaking with us and educating us about Nice and the Côte d'Azur and French Riviera, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. Thank you so much, your
I
guest.
appreciate it. Thank you
My
so much, Mark.
my
Thank you.
pleasure. You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Where Do Gays Retire podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast and consider making a donation by clicking the coffee cup on any page at www.wheredogaysretire.com. Each cup of coffee that you buy costs $5 and goes towards helping us continue the podcast. Thank you for your continued support.